you for attending this special November 19th session of the Business Mastery Series. I'm Carol Vickers with Empower Consulting, and we have the great pleasure of hosting this series for Practice Pay Solutions. As many of you know, Practice Pay Solutions provides business services that were inspired by rising professionals just like you. Practice Pay understands that for your business to grow, you need to simplify your day-to-day processes. And they deliver convenient and affordable payment processing and shopping cart options so that you can build your website and just have more time to do what you love. And they also are really committed to ongoing training and development for all of the members of the Practice Pay family. And as such, we get these great webinars from fabulous people around the country, and it is such a pleasure. You can reach Practice Pay Solutions by heading over to their website at www.practicepaysolutions.com and just reach out to them and you'll get personal touch, and the people there are excellent and really, really helpful at finding business solutions for you. Today we have an amazing speaker with us who I had the opportunity to spend some time with a little bit earlier, and I am delighted to introduce to you Natasha Ulrich. She's considered the soulful sales expert, and she's developed the Convert Conversations to Client Selling Systems program. And it's for entrepreneurs just like us who hate to sell but know it is necessary. And she'll show you today how to stop selling and start having conversations that convert into clients, which means you get to help more people and make more money doing what you love. You're going to learn how to get others to buy from you without ever feeling that they have been sold. And her secret, well, she's got a few of them. She's identified key components that allow you to create an enrollment conversation where prospects are looking for more information or actually turning into paying clients, and win-win solutions are found without ever having to push or pressure or sell somebody. Instead, you feel good selling, and they feel good buying, and you won't have sacrificed your soul. You know, Natasha has actually taught alongside luminaries such as Ilana Van Zandt, Marianne Williamson, and Marianne Wright Edelman, just to name a few. She has a rare gift at working from both sides of the brain, which is wonderful for us right-brained folks that need that left brain help. She guides clients with both spiritual and heart-centered wisdom, coupled with practical business strategy. Her work has been quoted in both business and lifestyle magazines such as Black Enterprise, Upscale, YSB, Home and You, and Urban Enterprise magazine. She's been featured in additional outlets such as Black NJ, the Star Ledger, New York Times, and Cable. She is a coach and a trainer and a mentor and an author. She's got a lot going on. I love her motto, the path emerges as you walk it. So simply walk it. Natasha, we are so pleased to have you with us today and so looking forward to this webinar. Please just take it away.
Hi, Carol. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Just perfect.
Oh, that was just so beautiful. What an awesome introduction. I was kind of sitting back saying, who's she talking about there? I'm a customer of Practice Pay Solutions, so I first want to just give thanks to Practice Pay Solutions and to yourself and your team for doing such an awesome job and seeing the need for entrepreneurs, consultants, and business owners like myself, providing such a wealth of information specific to how to grow our business. And it's really a privilege and an honor to be a part of the Business Mastery series and share my work with those who really understand that sales is the heartbeat of every business, and without it, we don't have a business. So I'm happy to be bringing this information forward, and in a really different and unique way that is not often talked about when we're talking about selling our services or selling our programs. So thank you again for this time, and I'm really looking forward to what we have in front of for the next hour.
Great.
So So, ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to just say thank you to you for being here with us. And over the next few moments, I want to talk about something that's very important to all of us. And you'll see on your screen, I have a beautiful PowerPoint presentation prepared for you so that for those of you who are visual learners like myself, we have something to reference and look at. And what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself one question. We talk about we're going to be talking about entrepreneur anxiety. We're going to talk about selling, but in a way that's really natural and that's really unique to what is often promoted in the marketplace today. And we're going to talk about your business and not settling and selling yourself out or settling for less than what you know you deserve and what you know you desire. So as I'm sharing this information, the one question that I like for you to consider is very simple. Does this make sense? I want you to ask yourself throughout this conversation that we're having, and I want you to kind of think about it, like even though this is a webinar and there's many, many people that have called in from all over the world to listen in, I want you to just imagine for a moment that it's just you and I talking one-on-one, and we're having a conversation about your business. And as I insert and share some of my lessons and some of the things that I teach and work with on my clients, just ask yourself, does it make sense? Because if it makes sense to you, then it could potentially make dollars and cents for you and your business. And so I'll start with the thought and the notion of relief. Hear that word for a second, relief. Wouldn't it be a relief if you knew what to say to a prospective ideal client and you weren't jumbling over your words or trying to find what you think you should say because someone said you should say it a certain way, but it didn't feel natural to you. It didn't feel like you were speaking in your own voice. Wouldn't it be a relief if you could just be yourself? And who you were and who you are is enough for the person that could be a really good ideal client for you? Wouldn't it be a relief if you didn't have any fear? Or if you did have fear, instead of being immobilized by it, instead of being in a position where we sabotage ourselves, you could actually make friends with your fear? Wouldn't it be a relief to be in a position where you didn't need to have a sales script, where you could release the script, ditch the script, and have a conversation instead with people? That's what we're talking about, where you can still make really great money being yourself, and most importantly, you could feel good selling. You don't feel like you gave yourself away, or oftentimes when we're being sold to, we wonder, after we buy something, what just happened here? It's like, I know you bought something, you turn around and say, what just happened? How did I get that? But you don't know, it wasn't a decision that you made on your own. And what we're talking about is you being in a position where you feel good selling, where you could release the script and be empowered to have a conversation instead without the fear. Or even if there is fear, you can still stand up to it and be in the conversation because you know what to say. You know how to speak in a way that's going to pique the interest of your ideal client. And if what you offer is a fit for what they need, the natural next step is to have a discussion on how to work together. But the reality is that we're often not in those positions, myself included. Oftentimes we get stopped by the very thought of selling, especially if you have an aversion to it or if your relationship to sales isn't one where you enjoy doing it. And for most of us as entrepreneurs, we don't enjoy selling. And, I teach that it's the way we relate to sales. It's the way we see it. This is what many of us look like on Monday morning or on Friday afternoon when we're looking at the end of our work week and we're saying, where did all the time go? I mean, it just whizzed by, but there's no new clients that came in, and I swore that I was working. Where did all the time go? You could probably relate to that, Carol, as an entrepreneur too, right?
Oh, definitely.
And your hands are in your head, and you're like, what am I supposed to do next? I mean, we've all gone through it, myself included. And I'm willing to lay myself on the altar for all of you. This is not about a looking good conversation. I'm willing to show behind the scenes how I got to this place in my business where I'm really happy with my success. I have a thriving practice. I have clients that I enjoy, and I have a lifestyle that truly reflects my values and my vision. But it wasn't always that way. Not by any means at all. One of the things that I advocate as a coach, for those of you who are coaches or consultants or any way that you train and offer your services to people, I really advocate that you take yourself on as your first client. And that's what I had to do. It was, I've been in business since 2002, and my first business, I had a nonprofit organization for children and families. And this is where I empowered children to learn how to read and to be excited about reading. And I didn't know that, at that time I was teaching sales. I didn't know that. Here it is. I have an organization with children and families, and I have a staff of 25 people. Who knew that at the end of the day I was enrolling people, whether it was the children or the parents or the funders or my team or my staff, I was enrolling them into the possibility of this vision that I was holding. And what I realized at that time, before I transitioned into the company that I have today, what I realized is that we always sell all the time. And you may be able to relate to this. If you are a parent and you have small children, then you can relate and know that you're enrolling your children at the dinner table to eat their vegetables. You're trying to sell them on the idea of doing that, If you have a spouse or a life partner, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you're like, how did I get here? Why did I decide to be in this relationship? And you have to re-enroll yourself back into the idea that there's a possibility to do it again and do it differently, and you could be happy and all is well. Likewise, if there's a restaurant or a movie that you really, really like, you talk about it to your friends. You talk about it to your colleagues. And in essence, what we're doing is you're selling. Wouldn't you agree with that, Carol? Does that make sense?
Oh, completely, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm selling to my spouse regularly.
I know.
This is what we want to do.
Exactly. So we already do it. It's natural and it's innate in us. The problem is when we start to look at it in relation to our business, especially for those of you who are mission-driven entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that, you're the type of person that your business is an extension of your passion or your purpose. And so oftentimes when it comes to selling your services or making offers, we often tend to take it personal. And so if a person says no, you take it personal as if it means that your offer wasn't good. But that's not it at all. It's really about how are you entering into the conversation, and are you communicating your offer in a way where it makes sense to them and their needs. And so when I decided to become a coach and start my first practice as a coach, one of the challenges that I face is what many entrepreneurs and business owners face to this day. It's having great work, being awesome and excellent in your service delivery, but hating to sell. Really just wondering if there's any way I can hide behind a sales page, if there's any way someone else can market for me to bring in the clients, because what I really love to do was the service delivery, not necessarily the selling part of it. And so I knew that, in order for me to grow my business, I needed to grow myself. You might want to write that down. In order to grow your business, you need to grow yourself. And look at what those skill gaps are that you might be missing that need to be cultivated. And it was sales for me. Even though, as I just mentioned a few moments ago, we already do it naturally, I needed to figure out how to transition from doing that naturally in my business and make that also natural. And the way that I did that was I first sat down and I looked at defining it for myself, not defining it the way traditional sales talks about how you should sell, not defining it the way people who I didn't respect from an integrity standpoint defined it, but really looking at what is sales, what is selling. And for me, it was an exchange of service. It was an exchange of a relationship. It was an opportunity to create a possibility or a win-win opportunity for myself and for my prospective clients. And once I got really clear about what that definition was for me, and I was willing to share it with other people, that's actually some of the components that I used to fill my first coaching practice. It was a willingness to shift the model and to do it differently. And for those of you, who are on this webinar, I know you're very much like me. You're creative, you're innovative, and you tend to be a little cutting edge. You think differently. But oftentimes you don't give yourself permission to actually act out those thoughts in your business because it's not popular or it's not what we see marketed, really heavily. And I'm hoping, my intention is that this discussion that we're having today gives you permission to go back to the basics of what you know works. And if selling for you has been hard, and if you've been following some other teacher or guru or mentor or coach, and you're not getting the results that you know you're destined for and you desire, there is another way. And I'm going to go more into detail specifically on some things that you can do today so that you can get new results tomorrow. But when I used that model, I went from literally being in a position where I had less money at the end of the month than I had in the actual given month. I literally was in a situation where we had just built our first home. I had a little baby girl that I was nursing at the time, and I was running my business virtually. And here it is, it's getting close to the end of the month, and I didn't have any money to take care of our basic survival skills. And I wasn't willing to compromise my values just for a sale. I wasn't willing to do that. But I tell you, sometimes when your back is up against the wall and you're looking at your loved ones in the eye, for me it was my little girl, I made a really clear decision that I was going to take action on what I felt in my heart was meant for me to do. And I was going to have these conversations, these connection calls with people in a way where I would open up the conversation. I would tell them what my intentions were, and I would totally make an offer if it felt right, if it felt like it could totally be helpful. And the willingness to do that and to take that leap, I was able to turn my life and my business around. And within the first 90 days of using this new model, I generated $10,000 of business in my company. And within 9 months, within that 9-month period, generated my first 6 figures and doubled it the next year. Now, I'm not telling you those numbers to impress you. I'm sharing them with you because I really believe that it's one thing to have theory, but it's another to have real results. And my intention is that this story that I'm sharing with you about my life inspires you to look at what pieces of your own business and of your own personal life can be improved through this system. So let's talk about it in particular. I call it the soulful difference. So traditional sales, as you can see on this slide, traditional sales teaches us that sales is all about the transaction. It's all about being, things being transactional. And what I talk about is soulful selling, or enrolling from the soul. And that's where it's about the relationship. It's about the relationship first, then the results yield for themselves. And if you think about it, it just makes sense. Remember I said earlier, ask yourself, does this make sense? Here's where you would ask that question. When you are working with someone, are they a deal to you, or are they a person with a heartbeat and a mind and an opinion? It's a person. It's a relationship. And we already know, we've heard it a million times before, that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. So how could that possibly be a transaction, only one-sided? See, the way that I see it and teach it to my customers is that if you can relate, and if you feel like you're being heard and seen, and if you trust the person that is delivering the information to you, no matter what it costs to work with them, you're going to at least be willing to explore the conversation. It doesn't mean that you're going to take the next step and buy, yes or no, but the opportunity to explore is what's there. And that is the beginning step of enrollment, is opening yourself up to the relationship first. Does that make sense, Carol? Can you see the differences already in that?
Absolutely does, and it's interesting to hear you speak of it this way, because I think, like many of our listeners, I get caught in that. It's got to be about the transaction, and really, my heart is about the relationship.
Yeah, and so what I'm inviting you, as well as everyone else listening, is to stay in your heart. to be very pragmatic and clear, it's all about intention. Absolutely, your business is about turning a profit. But how do you actually get to turn a profit if you don't have a clear relationship first? So if you focus on the relationship and you really listen to provide a good service, and you invite your offer, you actually create an invitation and you share your offer in a way that the natural byproduct is, if what you offer is a fit for what they need and they feel a connection and they want to work with you, the natural next step is to look at how that can actually happen, to look at how to exchange that money. That's just natural. You know, traditional sales talks about reading scripts. Just read the script. Just read the script. And, you know, I mean, some scripts are okay. I've read so many in my lifetime already. I've gone through so many scripts that I've read and reviewed of clients of mine, and you know, some of them are okay. And but here's the part that I want you to focus on. What about the part or the paragraph that's not okay? That doesn't feel good to you, that doesn't sound like you, it's not in your words, it doesn't have your resonance and tone, but you feel forced to use it because you don't know anything else, or because the person you learned it from, you admire their success and you want your version of that. So you think you have to do it their way versus being unique to yourself. And you know, the problem with that is until you discover what your authentic sales style is, because we all have one, and until you give yourself permission to be yourself, still using the parts of a sales conversation that actually work, you will get objections. You will get people that will say, let me think about it. I need to talk to my spouse. When they're buying, if it's a woman and she's buying some expensive shoes, she's not needing to consult with her spouse about that. But all of a sudden, she needs to consult with her spouse about investing in herself to work with you, you know? Yeah. Or they tell you they don't have enough time. They think that the program is great or the offer is wonderful, but they can't possibly imagine the time to implement it. And when we get these excuses, I call them, glorified excuses, when we get these rationales, it's coming from a logical place, and that's because there was a disconnect somewhere in the conversation. There was a disconnect where maybe what you said shut them down and they could no longer hear you. You were using someone else's words trying to be yourself. And we do that too, you know, in traditional sales. They talk about smile and dial for dollars. Just follow up. Your fortune's in the follow-up. So just get your prospect list out of your 10 to 20 to 100 names and just go through the list as fast as you can Monday morning so that you can set yourself up for a great profitable week. Well, the problem with that is we've all experienced it. You can tell when someone is sincere, and you can tell when somebody is just going through the motions. And that's the problem with selling from the traditional sales point of view, where it's just smile and dial for dollars. What I talk about is a full service connection, where literally you're making connection calls, and the whole purpose of it is to connect. And you can be very intentional. You could call, if this were like a conversation and I wanted to follow up with you, Carol, I would simply call you and say, you know, Carol, if say we met at a networking event, I would say, Carol, it was lovely to meet you last week, and as as promised, I said I would follow up with you and really connect. I just want to take a few minutes to get to know a little bit more about you and what you're up to. Is this a good time?
Yeah, very different, isn't it?
Very different. And the intention that I have is to connect, because I don't know if this is a potential customer or client or a JV relationship or a referral partner or someone that will share my work with their list. I have no idea what the connection is. But if I already judge it and say I'm just going to go through this list as fast as possible because I'm going to treat it as a number versus a human being on the other side, you miss the boat. And you know, today's entrepreneurs are very savvy and very discerning, and we got to be mindful that the very things that we don't like as the customer, we should also be mindful to not do those things as well. So you know, we don't like to feel like we're being sold. So then don't look at being the person that's selling. Look at the person. Look at taking a stand and be the one that's in service. You're serving. You're serving with the intention to make an offer if it's a fit, knowing good and well that if your offer is a fit, you get to explore a conversation where someone gets to pay you for your services and for your programs and your products.
Mm-hmm.
Just makes sense, right?
Really does, absolutely.
So I think this would be a good time to segue a little bit into how this all works together, how you can put this together. And I call
That's
it my,
perfect.
yeah, I call it my, my post system. You know, as I said at the top of our call today, that sales is the heartbeat of every business. And without a heartbeat, without a pulse, what happens? You flatline.
That would be flatline, yes.
Right. You flatline. You flatline. And so you need to check your pulse, check your sales pulse and your business pulse. And I'll tell you exactly what that is. The P stands for posture. And I'll just run through this really quickly, and I'll go through each of them step by step. The P is for posture, the U is for uniqueness, the L is for language, the S is for strategy, and the E is for enrollment. And, you know, you see this picture, and I always ask people, which one are you? Are you the kitty cat, or are you the lion?
Yeah.
You know, you want to be the lion. You want to be the leader. You want to be the leader in your business. And when I think about leadership, or a leader, I think about someone that is confident, someone that is really clear about who they are and what they represent. And so posture is all about not only what you say, and that's why a script alone doesn't work, because think about it. You can have all the perfect words, but if you don't believe them, if you don't resonate with them, and if you can't stand behind them, does it matter that you have the right words, or does it matter how you feel and think about those words? How you feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just what you say, it's how you feel, what you think about, and how you show up. You know, it makes me think about just a few minutes before our webinar today, I reached out to a young lady who listened to a recent telesummit that I just did, and she filled out a form to talk with me. And she said she's really clear that she wants to work with me. She heard what I had to say, it resonated with her, and she said the tips that I gave on the webinar had her go back and go to her website and change some things around because they just weren't her. She said the words that she had on there didn't really represent her. She just thought that that's what works. So she felt like I gave her permission to be herself. And she was excited about that. You know, and imagine if she's excited, then that's going to get other people who are interested in her excited.
Yes, it's contagious.
It's contagious. And we often underestimate how far confidence can really take you. That's not a skill set. That's something that we all have. But as we're in business and we're investing in ourselves with coaches and mentors, and we're learning new skills and developing new things, a lot of times we put our wisdom to the side, and we diminish our natural intelligence. And see, I am not, I don't have a scarcity mentality. So I don't have to use any fear-based marketing or fear-based strategies, sales techniques or tactics to have you listen to me. Like if you listen this far, you resonate with this message. It makes sense to you, you know? And if that's what makes sense to you, then go be that for your people. Be that as much as you can, as wide as you can, as big as you can, as bright as you can, because people are so attracted to posture, so attracted to that confidence. I want to tell you one other story really quickly about Jan. I think I have the slide up here actually. Jan, I do. Look at me. This young lady, you know, she was pretty shy when we first met. She was pretty shy and mild-mannered. Now, here's what's interesting about her. You would never know that she used to be a warden of a prison. You would never know that.
Not from looking at her.
No, not from looking at her. But then when she decided to transition into her own business, she took on the role of being a midlife coach, a miracles midlife coach. And she just wanted to work with women. Her whole passion was about working with women who were looking at their life and saying to themselves, is this all there is? Is this all there is? And she had a wonderful program where she was helping women that were empty nesters get back on track and get clear and excited about their life and what's in front of them to look, you know, going forward. But she was charging, at the time, before working with me, she was charging $225 a month for a 3-month program. Now, I'm not about inflating your prices just for the sake of inflation, but she had an unsettled feeling about it. She knew that the value of what people walked away with after working with her was worth more than $225. And she also wanted to be in a position where her business supported her lifestyle and she didn't have to compromise. And so she worked with me, and we fully focused on her confidence and her posture. And so we repackaged her program. We packaged it in a way where it totally supported what she was doing, and it provided the transformation for the client. And she learned her unique selling personality style, which encouraged her natural confidence to come out even more. And I think it was by the second consultation that she had. The first consultation she had, she said the person wasn't a fit. By the second consultation, she was able to enroll someone into her program, the same program that we just repackaged, for $3,500.
Wow.
Now just imagine, it's a big shift because you figure $225 a month times 3 months, which was her initial program, say that's about $900. How many clients would it have taken her to generate and to earn $3,500?
Yeah.
And now she gets to just, yeah, of course. And she was able to just focus on that client instead of, trying to get more clients, new clients, working hard. She could go deeper with that one client and create a fabulous experience and end result for her because she honored the voice that was inside of her heart and her head around increasing her confidence and increasing the perceived value of her outcome. That's what happened just with the posture piece alone in the Pulse system. The next one is uniqueness, U for uniqueness. And this is all about being different. Instead of trying to be like everyone else, if you're a coach, you're just, a life coach or a business coach or a sales coach, or if you're a trainer or a speaker or an author, you're not just those things. There's something about you that is unique and different. And typically I tend to tell a whole lot of jokes and make people laugh throughout my presentations, but I'm feeling like, energetically on this particular webinar, I'm just feeling like this is a little bit more of straight talk, serious talk. We're talking about entrepreneur anxiety, and there's nothing more stressful than being in business, loving what you do, but not being able to communicate it in a way where people are interested and then they invest. There's nothing worse than being in a position when you look at your P&L statement or you look at your bank account or lack thereof and you're not celebrating what's in it. Instead, you're worrying about how to get more in it.
Yeah. Very stressful.
And I don't want that for you. Yeah, it can be. It can be. But here's an opportunity for you to be unique, to allow your natural gifts to shine. And so I'll go through it really quickly. Each of us has our own unique sales personality style. So if you're going to write or you want to look at what I have here, I call it the 4 elements of nature. I use the 4 elements of nature rather to define your sales personality style. And I break it out into 4 ways: air, fire, water, and earth. And this is something that I totally created as a way for entrepreneurs who hate to sell but they know it's necessary, how to actually identify with your natural selling style so that you can have the confidence to get in these conversations. So here's how you want to look at it. Let's look at air as the first one. The air type of personality style, they're motivated by fun and freedom. Like the reason why they started their business was so that they can have the freedom that they wanted to have the lifestyle that they wanted. That's what motivates them to get out of bed and to do the business at hand. But they're oftentimes social butterflies. They're the life of the party. They're very gifted, so you notice them right away in a room. These people don't have a problem with connecting with people, and oftentimes people tend to tell them they're also really easy to get to know and to talk to, and oftentimes people will tell them their most innermost secrets within a few minutes of meeting them.
Right.
But with strengths, there comes a blind spot. I'd rather use the word blind spot than weakness. And the blind spot for the air personality style is that they can take a long time to make a decision, or they can have a really hard time when, say for example, when it comes to selling, when making the offer, they can have a really hard time communicating the offer in a way where it's simple and it's understood, because they have an excited energy and they could be all over the place. And so to have them focus in and be really clear in their communication could be a challenge for them. And they'll often get the objections, you know, that you often hear in when people talk about sales, and the objections and reason why people don't buy. So you want to know your selling strength, but you also want to know what your blind spot is, because it's the blind spot that you can work on. It's the blind spot that I work on with my clients, so it's no longer the thing that's holding them back from making money and working with more clients. Now I'll go through the other three really quickly as well, so you can have a reference and maybe, you know, kind of self-select and see where you find yourself. Then there's the fire people. The fire people, they oftentimes are either money motivated or results motivated. Like for them, they're very bottom line. So they want to get to the point as quick as possible. Sometimes they talk really, really fast. And as far as like look and appearance, they dress really sharp, either name brand clothes, or they tend to shop in boutique type stores. Like they're really particular about their look, and they're very sharp, and they're natural visionaries and natural leaders. That's their strength. So it's really easy for them to engage with people and lead people. The blind spot or the challenge can be that because they're quick thinkers and because they're bottom line type people, they can tend to appear to be self-centered or to not be great listeners. And so if they're in a sales call or a strategy session or a consultation with a potential client, they can have a hard time really listening in for the gaps and the pain or the challenges that their prospects could face, and totally miss that whole piece because they're focused on getting to the end of the conversation. They're focused on the end result. When for them, they want to slow it down and actually listen, pay more attention to listening in the beginning of the conversation so they can serve them well at the end. Cool stuff, isn't it?
It is. I'm just waiting for the next one. Which one am I?
So then there's the water and the earth. The water sales personality style type people, they're motivated by mission. They're mission-driven people. They're heart-centered. Not that the other ones aren't, but these people are what I call my behind-the-scenes leaders. They don't need to be in the front line. They don't need to be in the spotlight. They like to be a part of something that's bigger, like a community or a mission, and move it forward. And so because of that, they are naturally trustworthy. People naturally trust them. They have high integrity, but their blind spot is they don't ask for what they want. And so in a selling conversation, they would have a really hard time stating their price with confidence. And oftentimes they find themselves being in a position where people ask them to discount their services or to barter or to trade, because their confidence when they communicate it isn't coming from a place of power. It's coming from a place of servitude, and they need to. I teach these types of people how to switch it so that they can be leaders and still be behind the scenes in a way that supports who they naturally are. Because they're driven by mission. They're not driven by money. They didn't start business. They didn't start their own business because they wanted to make a 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure income. They started their business because they wanted to see their mission out there in the world, or be a part of a cause or be a part of a mission. And the danger, you know, is if you don't know your style, you try to be someone that you're not. You think you have to be a leader, but you are a leader. It's just the way you lead. Maybe you're not the frontline leader. Maybe you're the behind-the-scenes leader. And so for Earth people, one of their strengths is they're extremely reliable. And they're driven by detail. They're detail-oriented. They love information. They love to learn. Love it. And so their services, their programs, their offers would be very thorough, step by step in how they teach it. But their challenges when it comes to sales is they're perfectionists. And so good enough is never good enough for them. it's never just right. So they have a hard time making a decision and moving forward because they want to put all their ducks in a row first. And so a lot of times people miss out on their work because they just won't go forward. And I say for my earth people, what's good enough for you is perfect for the rest of us.
Yes.
You know? Yeah, and then when you have this, you learn how to be able to navigate it in a selling conversation. And then also one of the strengths is then you are able to identify who are you talking to on the other end of the phone. Like if I know that we're in a conversation and you're an earth person, then I know that when I talk about the offer, I need to really spend a lot of time on the detail. I need to really focus on what the results can be for you. But if you're a water person, you don't care about the detail. You care about the cause. You care about the outcome.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It definitely does. Yes, I can totally see, thinking about my clients and also thinking about myself, that this is a very wonderful way to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And here's an example. I worked with this young lady, Loretta Love Huff. She's awesome. If you don't know her, you totally want to look her up. She does really great work, and she's a speaker, and she leads lots of communities. And when I talk about the sales piece, it's not just in a one-on-one conversation. It can also be used in the teleseminar format from the stage. And for Loretta, she spoke in front of a large group of people, and she was able to use this system that I'm talking about and give details to the earth people because they needed to hear the details. But she was able to talk about community and mission to those that needed to hear it in the room. And then for the fire type people, she was able to give stories and tell the bottom line of the results. And then for the air people, give choices and options, which is what air people like. And because she was able to do that using this system, she landed 6 new clients, which at that time was the largest amount of clients that she had enrolled speaking from the stage.
Right. Fabulous way just to be able to offer something to everybody in the room.
Absolutely. And still being yourself, not having to compromise yourself.
Right.
And then here's another quick example. This young man, Jamie Swindell, he's now a really, really good friend of mine. But initially, when we started working together, he was already successful. He was part of the contract training businesses like Fred Pryor Seminars or Career Track. Or I think it's Life Path or Skill Path, where you go out and you speak and you train. So he was already at the top of one of the top 3 trainers in the nation. So he was already successful. But I saw, as a coach, I see opportunities and I see what's missing. And I saw an opportunity for him to offer a coaching arm to his speaking, because people would come to him and ask him his advice of how did he get to the top of his game. But because his personality style is earth, he tends to be a perfectionist. And so I worked with him to have that notion of good enough is actually perfect for you. And when he took that on as his truth and learned the sales personality style and took on launching his first coaching program, he was able to generate $47,000 of business just by not being the perfectionist, putting out his information, sharing it with others in a way where he was unique to himself.
Wonderful. All of this is so different than traditional sales. It's just a really refreshing way to hear about it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And again, it's like when you really sit and think about it, it just makes sense. It's like, yeah, this makes sense. Why haven't I been doing it, all along? Well, quite frankly, because there's not enough people out there teaching it this way. This is my gifting. This is what I believe is my blessing to share with others. And even Barbie knew it. Whether Barbie's black or white, she even knows that it's not what you say. It's not just what you say, but it's also how you say it. There's the language of what we say and how we say it. We don't ever want to be in a situation like this young girl right here where you're putting your hands over your mouth and, oh my goodness, can I take that back? Oh my goodness, I just said that, And with language, there's words that we use that can totally open up a conversation, totally open up the opportunity to engage and go really deep with someone and have them share things that they wouldn't share with ordinarily in a conversation. But likewise,
Mm-hmm.
there's words, I call them trigger words, that you can use that shuts the conversation down. So I'll give you a few, and maybe, Karen, you might want to, if anyone has any question, they can totally post, they can post a question within the webinar. I'm
Mm-hmm.
more than happy to take any questions. But some of these trigger words, and I'll give you an example. Let's say, someone says to you, so we just talked today, here's my offer, here's what I have for you, and I'm going to charge your card $997 by 5 o'clock today. What do you think in that sentence is the trigger word?
I hear charge. That was the one that probably was for me.
You nailed it. That's exactly correct.
Mm-hmm.
Charge is a trigger word. It literally feels like something's been done to you. Like there's there's emotion behind languages. There's emotion behind words. And that's why scripts alone don't work as a cookie cutter model, because the word charge is not something that I would say naturally. It's probably not something that you would say naturally, Carol. But
Mm-hmm.
if you weren't discerning and you read a script and it said, so I'm going to charge your card $997 by 5 o'clock today, and then we'll set up our first call, you might shut down. It might close you up, and you might say, this sounds really good, but can I just take some time to think about it and get back to you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Might
That's where
create the
that shows
pushback.
up. Yeah, it creates
Mm-hmm.
the pushback. you
Mm-hmm.
know? Instead, you could say something, and I'll give everyone a tip if you want to write this down. Instead, you could say something like, so let's go ahead and take care of your registration. I'm going to need a couple pieces of information from you. Would that be okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Very much more inviting.
Yep. And then you lead them through the next step. You let them know what to expect next. So that's a quick
Mm-hmm.
example of, if you're having a 20-minute consultation or an hour-long consultation, and the time really depends on how big your offer is and how detailed your offer is, but you want to be careful and know what words you're using that could trigger someone or keep the conversation open. And here's
Mm-hmm.
another quick example of someone that I worked with, Debbie Cannon. She's awesome. If any of you need a personal organizer, she's known as the Business Mom Mentor, and she was in a position of, she does really great work, but she had this group program that no one was enrolling into, just a few people, but not to the point where she was excited getting ready to start this program, and she only had a few people in it. And we talked, we had a really quick session, and I shared with her a few things to do differently. And this enabled her, instead of hiding behind her sales pages and her email campaign, she was able to make a few phone calls, and within a few hours double the enrollment of her program.
Mm.
Just by shifting trigger words into inviting words. Just by
Right.
doing that.
Yes.
The S in the PULSE system stands for strategy session. It's not just the sales conversation, but it's how do you actually get them? What kind of lead generation systems are you using? How are you actually enrolling them? And then how do you keep the sales that you made? Because it's important that you keep the sales that you made. You work really hard to enroll clients. I want to know that the clients that you're enrolling are really a match for you, because they'll stay with you long after that offer has been redeemed, long after your work together is done.
Yes.
And the E in the PULSE system stands for enrollment. Again, this echoes what I talked about when it comes to sales. It's not just about the deal. It's not just about closing the deal. The actual sales process begins at the onset of the meeting. Whether it was a networking event, whether it's through social media, a referral from a friend, through your newsletter, however the person connected with you first, you're actually enrolling them from that point forward. When someone opts in to your website, the enrollment process is starting.
Mm-hmm.
Then there may be an actual conversation. But after the conversation, and say they decide to buy and go forward in working with you, you want to already know what's next, and you want to already communicate to them what they should expect as the next step. This is going to help prevent buyer's remorse or second guessing or a person coming back later and saying they need to, put off the time that they work with you. You want to be really clear about what is the next step of my business after someone enrolls. Another really good question is, what is the life cycle of my client? After I acquire a client, what is the life cycle? Is it a 3-month life cycle, a 1-year life cycle? Like, what happens after they enroll into my program or my product? Is there a next step? And then the fourth stage to enrollment is the referral. It's one thing to get a customer, but it's another thing to have a raving fan that then refers business to you. And those are the best ones. Satisfied customers who feel like partners, who also share your good work with others.
Right.
And that is the soulful difference. That's the soulful sales difference. What traditional sales does not teach you at all. Here's a quick example. Some of you may know Lisa Cherney. She is the Juicy marketing expert. We've worked together, and she's a really, really close friend. I consider her a best friend now. We've been in masterminds together, and we've just done some amazing work, and she does amazing work out there in the world. She's to marketing what I am to sales. But there was a situation where a few people had enrolled into her group program and then later decided to opt out. And that would have been $10,000 of invested income that she would have lost had we not spoken. I shared with her some things to do and just to check in with them and to help them get really solid on their decision, whether it was yes or no. And by doing that and having that conversation, she was able to re-enroll them back into her program and not lose that $10,000.
Wow, that is awesome. Great work. We love Lisa Cherney.
We do. She's awesome. So, just like Serena Williams or any other athlete who's at the top of their game, you want to be masterful with your mission and your message. You want to know that you've put yourself in a position that if it's a skill gap for you, like if you really need support around sales, if you hate to sell or you have any anxiety around it, if it's not comfortable for you, or even if you have a comfort level, but maybe as your business is growing, your enrollment conversations need to change from what they once were. It's really important that you get clear about what your skill gaps are in your business and that you reach out to those who are a match to your message and who really could help you and support you, whether it's a mentor or a coach or training, that you get that information you need, because otherwise your business will suffer. And the last thing that we need is entrepreneurs out there doubting themselves, wondering if being in business is a mistake, wondering if they're worthy, if what they have is something good. That shouldn't be your question. That shouldn't be your question. I want for all the people that I work with to be able to say, I show up, I do my best, I say thank you, and I release the rest. Because I'm clear that who I am and what I do and what I offer is a great service to those who need it next. And I'm willing to enter into the conversation and make an offer with confidence and state my price clearly without apology, because I know that the transformation on the other side is far more worth it than to hide out and to not get the skills that you need to be successful.
Absolutely. And I know that because of who you are, you've got an offer that will help us as listeners to move forward on a deeper level.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, well, I call it the Soulful Sales Strategy Session. And in particular, this is for those who want to look at those blind spots. You want to really look at, what's the missing piece that is preventing you from really growing your business and getting more clients and serving more people and making more money than you can actually generate, actually bringing in more income to support your life and your lifestyle. What is that specific gap? Because it's different for everybody. And the way that you get to identify what that is to first get clear about your sales personality style, and then look at what particular blind spot in your conversation is getting in the way of you bringing in more clients and enrolling more clients. And so what I have for those of you, you see this in front of you, you can go ahead and copy it or go to the link. It's an opportunity for me to get to know your personality style. And this is an assessment. It's a couple of questions, easy to fill out. And I can't even put a price value on it. You know, sometimes you hear speakers say, oh, the value of this is $500 or the value of this is $1,000. But if I were to do that, I would literally be diminishing the value, because the value of knowing who you are, how you naturally communicate, how to be able to stand in your confidence and have a selling conversation that you can do over and over again once you really get it and learn it, that's priceless.
It is. It is. Being
That's
authentic in that. Yes.
And getting the results, that's priceless. Mm-hmm. So you put the value on that. And so what I'm offering for those of you who resonate with my message and resonate with the information, and you want to be in a situation where you feel good selling, you're not sacrificing your soul, you're not settling for less, and you can literally convert your conversations into paying clients, then you want to go ahead and go to that link, fill out the information, and then we can set up a connection call and get clear about what your gaps are, and in particular, what your unique selling personality style is and how to use it in selling conversations.
Wonderful. We did have one question, Natasha, from Cherise, and it was earlier on, and I think you covered some of it, but perhaps you can specifically address it. Sure. She asked, what tools did you use to go from 0 to 10K in 90 days? Was it email, phone, social media, or did you just change your selling mindset?
Oh, that's a great question. Hi, Cherise. Thank you for such a great question. I'm sure others might have wondered the same thing. So it was a couple things. It wasn't just a mindset shift around selling. It started with that. Everything happens twice. First on the inside, then it manifests on the outside. So it totally started with me being courageous enough to say, you know what, I'm going to do it differently. I don't care what the popular people are saying. This doesn't work for me, and I'm going to find a way that works for me and still gets me the results. So first it took the courage to do something different, and that totally was a mindset, body set, heart set, skill set change. Then that was also the year that I rebranded. And so I didn't have a big list because I was rebranding at the time. I started with a list of 200 people, actually. When I talked about making 6 figures, my list was up to 500 by the time that happened. So I didn't have a big list at that time, but I had a very clear intention. And my number one platform for enrolling clients is through speaking. And so I use speaking as a medium in several different ways, whether it's through telesummits, teleseminars, or hosting my own, or being a guest on someone else's list, or live speaking. That happens to be my platform. So if you're listening to this, Cherise, or anyone else, you want to first identify, where do you shine the most? Is it through an email? Writing? Is it through writing? Is it through speaking? Is it through video? Like, where do you shine the most, and what's the easiest for you to implement? So for me, the easiest to implement was to speak, and then to guide people and lead them to the next step if they were a fit in inquiring about working with me. So that was my strategy. And it did take a couple of emails, but not a lot. I don't do a lot of email bombarding. I'm not a heavy internet marketer. You kind of have to know your lane, know where your gifts lie, and sharpen those. And then know what your blind spots are and eliminate those. And the way that you're able to do that is by working with someone that can kind of see a little bit more high level, because there are a few steps removed, or they're a few steps ahead of where you want to be, your version of where you want to be, and they can look at your situation and advise you appropriately how to do that. But I don't teach a cookie cutter model, because it's all unique to everyone. So yeah, that was a really great question.
And Cherise just noted to thank you for answering it, and that speaking is her platform as well. So she feels that she's on the right track. So
Absolutely, that's wonderful. Yeah, so you want to listen for, listen to and listen for what your customers want to hear, the most from you, and check in and see if it's an energetic match. If these are the topics that you want to talk about, and begin to talk about it. But I would say get more intentional. At the top of the call, let people know, here's the topic that we're going to cover today. And if what I say makes sense to you, I totally invite you to explore if there's an opportunity for us to work together. See, if you state it up front, then there's no elephant in the room, and people respect it.
definitely. Wow. Well, thank you, Natasha. We unfortunately have run out of time, and there weren't any other questions that came up, so I think what we'll do is wrap up and just thank you for your offer, and I have put it into the chat box so people can click on it directly. And for those who are listening to the recording, they can copy and get in touch with you that way. Wonderful, wonderful material, and fabulous, refreshing way to look at how we actually have these conversations that I'm sure has made all of us feel much more comfortable about picking up the phone or sending the next email and doing it from who we are.
Absolutely. And Carol, I just thought about it. If there's people that are just listening and not actually watching the webinar, I'll just say the link really quickly so that it's there for them to, to go to. It's http bit.ly, bit.ly / speak with Natasha. http / bit.ly / speak with Natasha. And that'll lead you to that survey that I talked about a few moments ago. Thank you so much, Carol. I really appreciated the time. It was fun. And for all of you out there, you don't have to have entrepreneurship anxiety. Absolutely. Remember, the path emerges as you walk it. So just simply walk it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Natasha. Thank you to everyone listening, and we will look forward to having you as our audience in the next Business Mastery Series webinar. Have a great day. Bye-bye.